Today, I'm going to be going through the Confessor build. Hey everyone, Derpy here, and welcome back to another Battle Pirates video. We have the latest assault hull out, which is going to be the one you need to build for the next raid. There are still a few unknowns in terms of the flagship not being released yet, although there really haven't been too many interesting things with the flagship, and we are a day into the XP weekend, so I can cover a few things out. Also, TSM has a very good video which I've skimmed through for some of the use cases here, which goes over his idea of a build, as well as the target strategy guide, which Kixeye should be making but they don't, as well as actually seeing the fleet in this target. I would definitely make sure you go check that one out as well, because I probably won't have my fleet ready to go by the end of this weekend. TSM did a great job with that one. In any case, the Confessor is a fairly standard hull in that the U1 upgrade does give it a heavy weapon slot, which is something you're going to want to consider doing. The U2 upgrade is pretty powerful in that it gives you reload damage and accuracy. I believe that reload and damage are much more important than accuracy. Corrosive survival from U3 is really good, as well as the building damage. I think buildings are the primary threat in this target. X1 is yet to be released. The hull does have a base 40% anti-missile accuracy, which we'll talk way more about anti-missiles. For a little bit of a hint, you all are probably putting on way too many across your entire fleet. Of course, I do have the evade bonus with the retrofit lab, as well as a few other special things. This hull does have sonar, although I don't remember seeing any subs in these VXP targets, although there is a special effect here, the standard duplicate or cap in the special abilities for the survival, but we do have a special weapon, Mind Killer Missile, which, quote, briefly stuns. I haven't seen stuns at all, I've seen just slows. Slows enemy seconds for 3 seconds. It will let you kite things more easily. We'll discuss this more when going through our last special, and that is not affected by pretty much anything except general bonuses such as projectile speed, which we will, of course, be using. In any case, let's go ahead and throw on a few weapons here. I'm going to start out by building 4 damaged ships. Well, it's actually going to be 3 damaged ships. This is because filling up the entire ship with weapons allows you to avoid needing to use a dedicated countermeasure slot, which means your damage is way higher. I would rather have 1 CM ship and 3 or 4 regular ships so I can focus and have all my damage specials be on this one. If I have 5 CM specials across the entire fleet, I'm losing out on having 4 ships with another damage special. Whereas if I concentrate those 4 CMs or however many you put on here on one ship, you can only drop the damage on that one ship and have the rest be much, much higher. Obviously, if you have the limited weapons, you're going to want to use those. There's also really only one heavy weapon option for this ship, which is this Exodus heavy missile. It does 16.5k damage compared to the regular ones at 2.2k, so it is going to be very helpful, although reload time is 4 times higher. Still, with DPS, it is definitely worth to put on here, and there's nothing else you can put in this slot anyway that makes sense, so you're just going to throw that on there. In terms of the engine, I of course like the limited one that came out with the fleet. You can use whatever you like as long as it has the same combat speed as everything else in there. The secondary option would probably be the tier 11 engine, although that's not quite as helpful. Combat speed 110 is the same on both of them, although you do get a little bit more survival. At this point, that 12k survival means almost nothing, so these engines, very, very similar, might not even be worth getting. I have it, I got it in Pillage, it will be in the TLC, you're going to want to use this if you have it. The second special here is another one of these new ones that came out, and this is going to be Penetrative Battery 3. This gives you penetrative damage and building damage. Penetrative Battery 2 is probably the second best option for this. I do find it annoying we have a little tick mark 1 in the top right instead of a 3, but I digress, that happens all the time for all these different things. The other special that came out with the ship is Unlimited, and this is the Obsession Missile Sensors. This gives you projectile speed, penetrative damage, and building damage. It's very similar to a few other things we've seen out in the past here. One of those is probably an alternative, being the Unlimited Special. Most people are going to be able to get this in prize pack 1 or 2 of the TLC quite easily. I would definitely go ahead and use this one. In terms of a secondary one, there's probably some other store special out there you can look. Just search for penetrative damage and use the one that has the highest that's stackable with everything else. In any case, those are the 3 specials that we know for sure that came with the ship. You're going to want to use those. For another penetrative damage special, there is a limited one, the Hydrophobic Warheads, which are really nice. These things give you penetrative accuracy, which is not that great, projectile speed, which is nice, and reload and damage, which are the 2 big ones. This is the best limited one out there in terms of increasing damage, as well as reload, a few other very important characteristics. For the fifth special, I'm going to give you a few options here in terms of things that increase penetrative range. The first one, and the one I intend to use, is the laser scope. This gives you that standard plus 30% range and gives you damage and reload. Damage and reload help against ships, they help against buildings, they help against everything. You do more damage, you have more reload, you shoot more quickly, lower reload time. The other option is the rapid roller bearings, which is a fairly old one. This might even be Pegasus or Phoenix old. And instead of giving you the penetrative damage boost, it gives you an accuracy boost. If the ships in this target had crazy evade, I'd go ahead and use this one. But they don't, so I'm not going to. And the buildings here have a 100% hit rate against them. They have 0% evade. You cannot miss a building. So I don't think this is worth it, being that the buildings were a lot tougher in this target. I really want to use the laser scope. Guided missile systems or some other regular unlimited special might be your secondary option for that one. But I am going to go for that laser scope. It is limited, although it is fairly old. I believe it came out with those missile ships right there. I totally forgot the name of them, but I didn't like that raid because they were annoying photon ECMs. In any case, those are the 5 specials that we're pretty sure about. The last one people are going to have a lot of opinions over, and most people, I believe, are going to try and run like 1 to 4 antis on every single ship, and therefore need this to be an anti-special. I do not like this. I've already talked about that because having this one be a damage special means that I can increase my damage way more compared to everything else. I can also use an evade special, which is what I intend to do for this. The VXP target has a ton of evade that's coming out there, a ton of things that can be evaded that are doing guaranteed damage to you because they outrange you. I'm going to go for the good old classic Guidance Scrambler 3, which gives you 49.5% evade at R15. Now this 49.5% evade is the exact same as Agility System 4. Agility System 4 has a longer build time for the same exact evade. Furthermore, the stun and slow resistance do not help in PvE. Only helps in PvP, only helps in base hitting, maybe base defending, stuff like that. The stun and slow resistance mean absolutely nothing for PvE. If you want to use this special because it looks prettier and your name's Templar, you're more than welcome to do that, but if you're a regular player, know that the only thing this thing benefits you for the ship is a higher build time. I see that as a negative, so I'm going to go with Guidance Scrambler 3. The other option would be something like Hyper 30 to increase your combat speed to try and outrun some of these ships that go berserk. I don't really find that to be needed because you can kind of approach them from behind. That's what I intend to do. The other thing is Hyper 30 does increase your combat speed, so you have to run the same special across all 5 ships in the fleet. I don't like splash damage reduction enough to go with damage dispersion system 1 or 2 or anything like that. In terms of armors, I'm going to go 50-50 here. I'm going to go 2 missile, 2 corrosive. In the past, I've tried to guess which one works out, and I remember I didn't get that quite right last time, so I'm just going to go 50-50 split. I would guess penetrative is your main damage source from this raid, but that's going to tell a little bit later. In any case, I intend to build 4 of my ships eventually like this one, and 1 as a countermeasure ship. For the first raid, I'll just have 4 ships in total, counting the flagship, so 3 damage ships and 1 countermeasure ship. I haven't quite decided if that will be 1 regular one or the flagship, mostly because we don't know the flagship stats yet, although it's probably going to be a regular one. In any case, for the damage ship, or for the countermeasure ship, I'm going to take 2 of these weapons and substitute them out for Missile Defense System 3. I'm only doing 2. This is because each MDS-III can shoot at 10 incoming missiles with a rough cycle time for the weapon of 2 seconds. This means this particular fleet right here can deal with 10 incoming missiles every single second. That's a lot. If you run, something like 4 MDS-III on the entire fleet times 5 ships, that's 20 MDS-III. That's an insane number that's way too high. There's no way you even need to deal with 10 incoming missiles a second, so this right here is overkill. I also do need to make sure I change one of these specials out here to increase my anti-missile accuracy. I'm actually going to go and use the Penetrative Battery 3 because this gives you very little in terms of defense, so if there's anything like King Killer in this target, which I don't remember there being in these VXP targets, although I haven't hit them that much, it's not going to worry about missing the evade here, and your one ship won't take more damage if you switch out Penetrative Battery 3. I don't want to switch out something like the laser scope because range is necessary. I don't want to switch out anything that gives me projectile speed right here because, again, that is really necessary. So I'm going to go ahead and switch out penetrative battery 3 for something that increases anti-missile accuracy. Now, if I just go ahead and type in anti right here, there's a few different options. You'll notice that the Pretorius defense system has an anti-missile accuracy of plus 40%. That's the best one out there. If you want your anti-ship to do a little bit of damage, you can increase it by 25%. I think that is way too low and is not going to help you enough, so I am going to recommend the Pretorius defense system. There are a few other options here that are limited in terms of things that will give you, a little bit less high numbers. The 50% accuracy from chaff splitter system is highest, so I'm going to take back what I just said and go with this one. It doesn't give you the other benefits in terms of reload and stuff like that, but anti-missile accuracy is the name of the game here. I'm going to want to use this. And this is because the missiles only shoot at one incoming missile at one time. Your anti-missile shoot at one incoming missile. Because of this, they're not going to fire 100 times at one missile if you have 20 on the entire fleet. It doesn't work that way. One MDS-III shoots one projectile, one missile. If it hits, great, it takes it out. If it misses, that missile is going to go towards you and either be evaded or hit you. Now, this particular setup has a plus 90% anti-missile accuracy, which is great. I would highly recommend increasing this number as high as you can, because damage is going to need to be mitigated from these things right here. And again, only going with 2 on the entire fleet here, and this also increases range, which is fantastic. Obviously, the multi-shot and the corrosive damage aren't doing anything. So I'm going for one countermeasure setup built like this, as well as one of those standard setups with the damage ones, swapping out for penetrative battery 3 and putting on weapons, preferably the limited weapons, on those ships in particular. If you have any questions about the build I just talked about and showed you, definitely let me know in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer you. This was a relatively long video. I do try and get these out as early as possible. If you do appreciate that, go ahead and leave a comment or a like on the video. Those things really do help out in terms of boosting engagement and all those other cool effects like that. If you have any questions, like I said, go ahead and let me know. Other than that, this is going to be Derpy signing out, helping you be a better pirate.